All right, here we are. We have guests in studio. This is always fun. Good morning, John King.
Good morning, Peter. How are you doing this morning?
Doing fantastic. And we have the perfect name for a filmmaker.
That's right.
This is the coolest thing ever.
Cinema, if you believe it or not.
Not spelled the same,
No,
though, right?
no,
Okay.
not the same.
Let's get that microphone right there. Being a filmmaker, you should have good mic technique by now, right?
Yeah, I've never done radio before, though, so
Seriously?
this is a new experience for me.
Well,
there you go.
It'll only go up from here. So you started off in the right place.
We have
Yeah.
a T-shirt that says "I survived talkback." But anyway, tell us a little bit about yourself. Now, Tim Blodgett is also here, and you guys are student filmmakers. I'm assuming at the University of Montana. It's the only one in town, right? So, tell me about yourselves and how you got involved in this.
Do you want to go first?
Okay, Tim, you first.
Yeah, well, we're journalism majors at the University of Montana, and every year the seniors get together and we do a documentary. Usually they're an hour long, but this time we did a half an hour piece. We had usually there's about 14 or 15 in the class, and this year there was only about 8. So we were considerably understaffed. But it was a really fun, great experience. I'll let Holly tell you about the actual documentary that we actually put together, though.
Okay, now we're talking about White Sulphur Springs, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah, so we looked at small towns in Montana and what they do to kind of cope with young people moving out and industry moving in and how population fluctuates and things like that. And we focused on White Sulphur Springs. There's a proposed copper mine that's proposed to go in near White Sulphur. So we kind of used that as a case example and looked at small towns in Montana and what they do.
Now there's a big controversy there because that's where the Smith River is, right? And I see bumper stickers all over saying "Save the Smith, save the Smith." So did that enter into your filmmaking efforts?
We definitely, we interviewed some people from Helena, some people from Save Our Smith, some people from the Montana Environmental Impact, or Environmental, what was it called? Information Center, sorry.
Right, yeah.
Brain freeze.
The Montana EIC.
Yeah, MEIC.
Right.
Yeah, so we interviewed people from Helena. We definitely wanted to make it balanced. We wanted to show that, even though this is an environmental risk, it could also really benefit the people of White Sulphur, and we wanted to kind of show that it's not so black and white, and, there's a lot to play here.
Did you find anyone in White Sulphur Springs that was against?
We found a couple. No one was actually willing to talk to us on camera. So.
Really?
Yeah, the small
So
town dynamics.
intimidating.
Well, when you get with a small town with like 800, 900 people,
Right.
This mine would be such a huge benefit to the town that not many people are against it. And if you get one person that's against this mine, they might be ostracized throughout the whole community. So they weren't really willing to talk on camera. So that was sort of a big issue.
So
Did you get people on the other side? Did you get people in support of the mine in the town?
Oh, well, it was pretty much universal for everybody said on camera. Like the first day we went, we asked if they supported the mine. It's like, yeah, I don't really know anybody that's against the mine in the town.
So are you assuming a fear of ostracization is what held people from saying they didn't like the idea of a mine? Or did you hear that from somebody?
I'd assume. And plus we heard in Helena or other places that they probably...
Well, let's see. It's pretty easy to figure out. We don't have any industry. We have very little business. People are leaving. Agriculture is tough right now. There's also we're literally right in the middle of nowhere. Okay, and with White Sulphur Springs, there is one thriving business there, but they do most of their business, around the world. They sell it's Red Ant's Pants. We've interviewed Sarah.
Our town is named after something that bubbles up out of hell.
Well, yes, the hot
some
springs too.
considerations.
Well, that's their other main industry is tourism.
Yeah.
A lot of people float up and down the Smith River, and they've got the hot springs too, which are pretty nice. So I'm a little pitch for that.
Well, that's cool. All right, now tell me about the people. I mean, are they primarily agricultural based? Are they tourism based, or what? What's the deal?
Their jobs? Do you mean?
Yeah.
A lot of people that we talk to either work in government jobs because that's kind of what's available. White Sulphur Springs is the county seat. So some people bring their own economies. We talked with a gunsmith who does his gun work there, and he works with people all over the state, so he doesn't depend on White Sulphur. Otherwise, I mean, they depend a lot on tourism. There's the hot springs, the Smith, and things like that.
There's not exactly a Macy's or anything.
No, not at all.
Well, let me ask you this: Are there fast food places like McDonald's, Burger King? What is there? I mean,
there's a couple restaurants,
Eat at Joe's,
a
or
couple
what?
bars,
Okay.
a gas station.
Yeah.
You don't really get
Yeah.
to have a town in Montana without a bar. It's-
Well,
Right.
well, the reason the White Sulphur Springs actually started out is because it was a huge lumber mill town from since the 1800s to the 1970s, and then once the lumber dried up and people left, it's they don't have any industry there except for those couple bars.
Now, when did they discover the copper, and or has it always been a factor that, gee, wouldn't it be nice if we could mine this copper right underneath our feet? So
I think they've known about the copper since the late 80s.
Okay.
They just haven't done anything about it until like 2009 or anything, where this company Tintina, who is actually a Canadian company, they bought this land and are looking to put a mine on top of it.
Interesting. So, how far off is the town from what are the hoops before the mine would go into place that things need to go through? Is there decisions, since it's a foreign company, is there decisions at the federal level or state level that need to be done first?
Well, they do have to jump through a lot of hoops. They do have to get a lot of permits signed by the state and local government. I'm not sure about the specifics, but I actually went to Helena. There was a proposed mine hearing about people wanting to raise the bonding of the mine, so they wanted to put 150% bond on it, which means
Right.
like if the mine messes up the river, they'll have that 150% money to pay to clean up that river.
now, let me ask you this: how close is the mine to the river, or is it the fact that the tailings and the actual disturbance of the mine is going to somehow disturb the Smith River?
So the mine is actually it sits closer to Little Sheep Creek, which then goes into Sheep Creek, which
Right.
then is a major tributary of the
tributary,
Smith.
okay.
It's like 12 miles from the head of Sheep Creek, or from where the confluence of the Sheep Creek and the Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it doesn't sit right on it, but they're worried about tailings.
Right.
I mean, there's always environmental concerns when you look at what happened in Butte, and you can't compare White Sulphur and Butte. You can't compare the two because they're different, but there's always inherent risks when you're dealing with mining in the environment.
And there's one thing too: when you start digging a mine and you realize there's more than you realized, and then you want to expand it. And,
Yeah.
And that's where the trouble comes in, right?
Yeah. They estimate there's over a couple billion pounds of copper down there, but they haven't really tested for anything else. So, one of the things that Tintina talked to us about was that they don't really know what else is down there, and maybe they'll keep going. They don't know if it's just copper. They don't know if there's ore. They don't know if there's iron.
They also claim that it's the
No, go ahead.
They also claim it's like it's going to be the newest technology, cutting edge technology of mining, and how it's not going to cause any environmental problems at all. So they say that. A lot of other people don't say that.
What do you think of their new technology? How is it different?
It's super geological and
Imagine mining super geological.
we're journalism.
That's a slogan right there.
We're journalism majors. We're not scientists, so we can't really touch on that. But they say it's very environmentally friendly.
Hey, we're up against a break. We're going to come back and talk about this because even though the folks in White Sulphur Springs may be a little shy about coming out against this mine, I know that there are major, like Sierra clubs and that sort of thing, that are willing to spend oodles and oodles and oodles of money to keep this mine from happening. So I want to talk to you guys about the dynamics that are going on in White Sulphur Springs with the outside pressures coming in both directions, okay?
I'm kind of concerned that all the pressures are from outside.
Yeah. So we're gonna come right back. Stay with us. Now we're back on Talkback, 721-1290, 1-800-568-5309. Talking with Holly Cinema, and yes, that's her real name, and Tim Blodgett, both co-producers. What is the documentary called, by the way?
The documentary is called Changing Home.
Okay.
The subtitle is totally geological. No, it's not.
It's the White Sulphur Springs story, right?
No, it's called Changing Home: Small Town Survival.
And it'll
Yeah.
be shown on Montana PBS tomorrow at 7:00.
Oh, wow. Okay,
Very
it's
cool.
tomorrow.
Yep, tomorrow.
Very cool. All right, now I
Now
wanted
you
to-
had a big question right before the break.
I did.
right?
And my question was, I'm sure that there are dozens of environmental groups, from the Alliance for the Wild Rockies to the Sierra Club, to you name it, you name the national organization. As soon as they hear about copper mine, Smith River, Montana, ding, 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 ding. It doesn't matter what good it's going to do the people. Screw that. We don't want this mine anywhere near this precious river where the little fishies might get disturbed. So when you talk to the people there, are they a little bit resentful of the fact that so many of these environmentalists are moving in and with T-shirts and whatever saying, save the Smith, or what?
I don't know
Because
that.
they want the jobs, right?
Yeah, definitely. I don't know that resent is the right word to use, but they definitely feel like people who are outside White Sulphur don't understand why they need this mine so badly. I mean, they need the jobs more than anything, and if it's not a mine, it's, something else. So I think they're not resentful, but they definitely feel like if people would just come to White Sulphur, if those groups that are opposing the mine would come to the mine, take a look at it, take a look at the landscape, take a look at everything, they might not be so against it, I guess.
It's a question of what you value, right? I mean, if you're outside and you don't live and you're not connected to that community, your value, you could make it be the Smith, because you don't know Joe and his wife and their kids that need a income and a place to live and a piece of property and money for college and all this stuff, and they're not going to have that as easily, at least, without some kind of industry there.
What about the fish? Okay, let's get Tyler on. Tyler, you're on Talkback with Holly and Tim. Go ahead.
Hi, guys.
What's
my
up?
question to you guys was, why did it take a Canadian industry to come in, a Canadian company to come in and get this ball rolling on mining this material? Why didn't the people of the town do anything about it?
Well, earlier in the 80s when they first discovered the copper, the price of copper was too low for them to do anything about it. So a lot of this has to do with copper prices and the fluctuating price of goods and minerals and things like that.
Especially now, when you consider what copper is being used for, you want to talk about electric vehicles and all sorts of things that require copper?
Yeah, iPhones.
Go ahead, Tyler.
Well, that pretty much answered my question. It was I didn't even contemplate that would have been a restriction. I mean, we see that now with the Bodkin, so it makes sense. So, I look forward to seeing you guys at the documentary. Thanks.
Great, thanks. Thanks a lot.
And it is tomorrow at 7, right, on PBS.
Tomorrow at 7, PBS.
So it's totally free.
Totally
and
free.
Supposedly commercial free, despite thousands of commercials.
And it'll be online, montanapbs.com, I think.
Sorry, PBS. I just can't get
.org.
over it.
.org.
Yeah, don't go
Sorry.
.com. Are you crazy?
I'm sorry, PBS.
Sacrilege.
I have to ask you now. You're free agents. Are you graduated yet?
Yeah.
Okay, you're totally free. You have no debt to society. But
I have debt to the school.
right.
But if you do buy the DVD, none of the profits go to us. So
Okay, that's good. Right? Well, that's good to know.
So
We don't want you guys making anything off this deal.
Here's my question. Okay, let's just pretend that all the hoops and stuff that are out there don't exist, and it's summed down to just one big hoop for the mayor of White Sulphur Springs, and you happen to be the mayor. Okay, well, what's your decision? Would you say let's go ahead and put this mine in, or not?
Well, I mean, if I was the mayor of White Sulphur, I
Yeah.
would probably put it in because, that's, it's my town and I want to see my town prosper. And this mine will definitely make my town prosper.
If you were the mayor and you made that decision, would you have some caveats? Would you be sitting down with the folks in Tintina and say, look, I want this 150% deal because this is precious territory. We depend a lot on fishing and recreation, that sort of thing. We got to have these protections in here because when you guys are gone and the copper is gone, we're still going to have the Smith and we're still going to have, people coming to fish. I want to make sure it's not going to be ruined. Would that be part of the deal?
That's a very good question. I'm sure. I mean, actually, Tintina is the local office in White Sulphur Springs. A lot of the locals work for Tintina from White Sulphur Springs. Tintina hired all these people from White Sulphur to work for them. So, they were against the 150% bonding. I'm not sure how the people of White Sulphur thought of that bond deal, but I'm pretty sure they were against it because they don't want to,
Do you know if that bond is? I'm just not a world that
It
I'm
failed.
usually swimming
And-
in. So is that a very, very high bond compared to what normally you would have for some kind of resource extraction sort of process?
Well, I mean, it's usually a 100% bond. So if they made them pay 500, they put a $500 million deposit on this bond, they'd have to make them pay $750 million.
Wow.
Instead.
Okay, let's get another caller on. Mike, you are on with Holly and Tim. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, they may have just answered the question on that. Is there going to be preferential hiring for the locals first? Because generally on these projects, the locals always get hired the very last because of the mining, and you can't blame the companies for this because they got their key people they want there and they want some experienced help. and I guarantee you there isn't many miners in White Sulphur.
Right now, they're not out there with picks and shovels. We're talking some pretty sophisticated stuff, right? Huh?
Yeah, well, and I assume this is an open pit mine as opposed to a hard rock mine.
Yeah, it actually will not be an open pit mine. It will
Oh,
be
it's
a
gonna be
completely
hard rock,
underground
okay.
mine.
It'd be an underground mine, Mike.
All right, so are they going to train some of these people locally to be hard rock miners? Because that's a specialty all south, and you got to be a little bit crazy to do it.
Well, they said Tintina said they hire about 250 workers, or maybe about 200. They said they probably all the jobs won't come from White Sulphur. I'd assume they'd train some people in White Sulphur, but I think they're going to take most of the workers from outside.
Now, let me ask you
Yeah,
this.
this
How,
is gonna-
hold on, Mike. How many workers in all would, if the mine, once the mine is fully operational, how many people would it employ? So basically, you're talking about a big increase in the town itself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so go ahead.
I mean, they're not expecting everyone who works in the mine to live in White Sulphur. Tintina says that they still expect that some people will commute in. And Tintina will say that they want to hire as many locals as they can, but the truth is that it's going to be highly technical, and you're going to have a certain set of skills, like people who are, in Butte at school at Montana Tech and
Sure.
things like that. So it kind of depends on what jobs you're talking about. If you're talking about just like entry level, like when they're going to dig the tunnel to get to the mine, that could go to someone in White Sulphur, definitely. And there are a couple miners, we never actually talked to any of them, but we heard about them that drive down to the mine in Nye, I think, or the Absorki mine, I don't know.
Right, right.
So they want a mine that's close to home that they can work at.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, no, what usually happens in a case like this, you're going to get the mine, and you're not going to get the benefits. White Sulphur, there'll be a few people profit, but the average person is going to see is housing prices go up, the food prices, everything's going to go out of right. So the local people are still going to wind up on the short end of the stick. So they said they should be careful what they're asking for. They just might get it. And every time one of these projects work, it's the same as happened up in Libby.
Okay.
And every place else I've watched this happen.
Thanks,
So,
Mike. Appreciate
okay,
the call,
bye.
buddy. And luckily, we have the mayor here, Tim.
Yes,
So we're going to take a break, come right back, and wrap things up with Holly and Tim. We'll be right back. And we're back on Talkback. 721-1290 is our number, and we have guests in the studio. I can still talk on a song. What can I tell you? I'm still a DJ at heart. All right, that's John King. I'm Peter Christian. Holly Cinema and Tim Blodgett joining us from the University of Montana School of Journalism.
I noticed Mayor Tim went out on a limb and gave us his position, but I recently found out that they believe that White Sulphur is run by a council. So that means there's multiple members. So what would council member Holly decide?
Oh, man. Put me on the spot. I would probably go with my fellow Commissioner Tim. I mean, being in White Sulphur and spending as much time in White Sulphur as we did, it's definitely obvious that they need some sort of industry to boost their economy.
Okay, I'm from the Environmental Information Council, and I'm here to talk with the council real quick.
Yeah.
Tell me, give me the 411. Why is this industry more important than the Smith River?
Take it away, Tim.
I mean, we really.
Monsieur le Maire.
I don't think I can really get into that.
Come
but,
on, you're in charge here.
I mean, if I was in charge,
Okay, well, first thing is you've got jobs,
it's jobs,
economic development.
It's like, this is the most stereotypical politicians. Like, it's people that matter.
Yeah.
The river is great and all, but it's really you have to look at both sides of the issue. I'm talking not as the commissioner, but as a person. I mean, the Smith River. If you're talking about economics, the Smith River actually brings in a lot of money from tourists and floating and everything. And it's not White Sulphur's river at all. It's the state of Montana's river. And I know that White Sulphur will bring in jobs, and I know that the mine's important for them. But at the same time, the environment and this beautiful river and the state of environment in the Montana is also important. So
We have less than a minute, so give us the when and the where, and when can we see it, and how long is it, and all that good stuff. So
it's only a half an hour, so you only have to book that much
yeah,
in
you
your
can hold your
schedule.
breath that long.
Tomorrow night, 7 p.m. on Montana PBS is where you can find it. I'm sure it will be online at montanapbs.org the day after. It's called Changing Home, Small Town Survival.
All right, and now where are you guys going from here, Holly? What's happening with you now that you graduated?
I'm hanging out, trying to find a job
Okay,
in Missoula. So,
Okay, do you want to be in cinema?
It'd be great.
Thanks.
She's already a star.
I'm already a star.
Absolutely. Tim, what about you? What do you do?
Right now, I'm actually going to a job interview right after
Oh, so
this.
that's why the suit and the tie.
That's
right.
I didn't dress up just for radio, but I didn't like all my listeners to listen that I'm wearing a tie.
Does anyone
right
have
now.
to vote for you to get your job?
Yeah, vote for me for mayor of White Sulphur next term,
All right.
please.
Hey, you guys, thanks so much, and thanks to Denise
Thank you.
Dowling. She does such a wonderful job,
Thanks.
and she's hopefully enjoying her summer. So,
I would hope so.
thanks, you guys. Appreciate you being with us. Hey, that's going to do it for this half hour. We have lots of fun coming up.
Stuff to talk about, including pit bulls.
Yeah, we're going to be back after the top of the hour. Stay with us. Starring the big dog himself, right over there. That's John King. I'm the chihuahua of the talk show world. I'm the yapper. Anyway, so-
I did want to finish up our last segment. We had a call in from, I think her name was Katie.
Katie,
and
right.
She was trying to make the point that there are lots of jobs in the environmental field, like monitors, that could work in White Sulphur. And frankly, I don't see it. Katie, I'm sure you could call in and disagree with me, 721-1290, but honestly, those jobs, it seems to me, would exist and maybe even more prominently exist if the mine were to be built.
Now, we have another topic here, and this is something that you really touched a nerve here.
I've got a lot of flack on this one. So I wrote this story. It's a real story, something that happened in Missoula
on Monday.
On Monday, up on Victor Court in the Lower Miller Creek area. Actually, I think you have the story there if you want to just read it like we did for the news. And we actually got feedback from the owner of the dog that died, and I have some background information we might go into on the air.
Says a 14-year-old boy's dog is dead after being shot by a homeowner on Victor Court in the Lower Miller Creek area. Missoula Police Public Information Officer Travis Welsh says the man who shot the dog called Missoula Police himself to report the shooting that actually occurred on Monday afternoon. Let me go ahead and grab that because we're talking with Travis Welsh.
And he's the public information officer for the police department.
Here we go. This is that comment from Travis Welsh.
A boy had been walking another dog past his residence, and his own dog went out to see the other dog. They started to fight, and the boy tried to pull his dog away, but either the leash broke or the collar came loose or something happened there, so that the dog was loose. They continued to fight in the driveway, and the resident there came out and actually shot the other dog.
So it's a key piece of information. I don't know if everyone read that when they read it, from judging from the comments that I've read. The pit bull, in this case, the dog that the boy is walking is a pit bull, and that particular dog got off of its leash somehow, and
Well, they're very strong.
and was in the midst of tangling with another dog, which happened to be a boxer. Cut two.
Which is no slouch itself. And of course, they want to talk about discharging a firearm within the city limits, which is illegal.
We are investigating it, or we have investigated it as a shooting incident. Fortunately, no persons were injured. The dog is deceased, but there could be mitigation for that. What we're concerned about, number one, making sure all persons were safe, but also that the person who fired the weapon did so responsibly.
So there you go.
So there you have it. And after they're done wrapping up their investigation, Animal Control will also investigate as well. I don't know what other charges you might be able to bring as Animal Control that you couldn't bring as the police department, but apparently there's something. My question that I threw out there with the Facebook post of this story yesterday was, would you shoot a pit bull attacking your pet? It's a good question, I think, for the talkback audience.
Absolutely.
I got lots of responses on Facebook, and I'm going to go ahead and read some of these. And a lot of people took issue, not with the idea. We had people be like, yeah, I'd shoot the dog. If it was attacking my pet, I'd shoot it. But you shouldn't single out pit bulls. That's just wrong. So here we go. This one's from Megan. She says, the real question should be, would you shoot an animal if it was attacking your animal? Literally any dog could have done this. So let's not make this breed specific. You shouldn't walk your dog, especially in residential areas, if you can't control it. Just like you shouldn't let your dog run around and greet random dogs walking by, because not all pets are socialized. This whole situation could have been prevented. I think she's right on the prevented thing, but man, I think about different dog species, and there are some dog species that there is no way I would probably go get a gun unless I thought it was rabid and it would hurt me if it were to bite me. I mean, wiener dogs, poodles. There's so many different dogs I could probably just peel off. Or even use my foot to kind of shoo it away.
Yeah.
But larger dogs like a pit bull, which happened to be the animal in this case, it seems to me important to bring up the species. Now, here's where I get into real trouble.
All right.
I'm going to admit this. I do, from my personal history, have a bias against this particular breed of animal,
Pit bulls.
having almost died to one twice.
All right.
Once as a young child, our neighbors had pit bulls, and every time I would walk by the fence, they would bark and, charge at the fence.
They would lunge. Right.
And they would scare the heck out of me, and we would walk by shivering and frightened. Anyway, we were playing in my friend's backyard one day, and the pit bull broke through the fence. I mean, we're 7-year-old kids, and the dog just charges right at us, barking and yelling. This isn't his property, he's never been in this yard. And my friend's dad came out, had a golf club, and kind of scared it away, hit the dog till it would go away. And we had to run inside. But man, that was really frightening to as a young boy. And then later, as a newspaper delivery boy, this is in high school, I had one jump through a screen door when I was going up onto a porch to deliver the paper, grabbed a hold of my coat. I had a big puffy coat. It was winter in Montana, and so I was decked for it. And it grabbed my coat and wouldn't let go. I had to take the coat off and leave it. It was ripped up anyway by the time he was done with it. But, I mean, you have 2 instances like that with the same breed, and you kind of get a little gun shy on the breed. And I know there are people that buy this dog with the intent to make it mean because they know it's going to, or they hear media telling it it's a mean dog. And that's one side of the equation. And maybe it's just the human influence that drives this dog to behave in the way that it does sometimes. And maybe it's just the media highlights it when it does. Or maybe this animal has been bred to be ferocious and acts out sometimes on its own genetic code.
What do you think?
Phone
Yeah,
number is 721-1290.
Yeah, we're up against a break, our first break here, and I know you have an opinion on this. I know you do. So.
And you don't have to give an opinion on pit bulls because I have something else to give away.
Okay.
We have our free Rocket Coffee and Toast giveaway going on right now. So this one's special. I didn't know about this. This is a new thing that Rocket Coffee's doing. So don't miss today's morning coffee giveaway at 8:59 a.m. from our friends at Rocket Coffee. Today's winner will enjoy a fresh cup the way they like it with a hearty slice of toast and a spread of their choice. But if you don't win, get down there still because Rocket Coffee and the Garden City Garden Supply are giving away 2 pairs of tickets every week to the Dave Chappelle Show.
Oh, wow.
Until the day of the show. No
Cool.
purchase is necessary. Just get over to Rocket Coffee and the Garden City Garden Supply to sign up and win.
That's awesome. Okay, it's right across from the Eastgate Shopping Center. And check it out. So
2 birds with 1 stone. Give us a call for free coffee. 721-1290.
First caller wins. We'll be right back. And we're back on Talkback. 721-1290 is the number. And we are talking about pit bulls this morning. We had a story on about I'm sure you probably heard about it, either on TV, you might have read about it in the paper, or, of course, might have heard about it on our radio news show this morning. A 14-year-old boy walking his pit bull, and the pit bull managed to escape the leash, got into a fight with a boxer. The owner of the boxer came out, shot the dog, and so the police are looking into it, Animal Control is looking into it. Our question to you is, if a pit bull were attacking your dog, would you feel justified in going out and shooting it?
Yeah, we have had lots of, for example, Judy says, simply, ... yes.
Okay.
Others have said other things. For example, absolutely not. This is from Linda. She says, there are so many other non-lethal ways to deal with aggressive animals. Pepper spray, for example.
Okay, let's get to the phone and talk with Misty. Good morning, Misty. How are you?
Good morning, guys. I'm good. How are you?
What's on your mind, ma'am?
I have a story. When I was younger, I've seen Cujo. I've seen Man's Best Friend. I was never really scared of dogs because my mom always told me that's just Hollywood. Well, I was walking home from school one day. and I was walking by this guy who I knew had a pit bull, but I had never really seen it up close. And out of the open door, this pit bull that was not on a leash comes lunging at me. I was on the street, and I froze. This pit bull, full speed at me, stopped point blank at my leg. I could feel its nose breath on my leg. and I froze. I was petrified. I was so scared that I could not breathe. I couldn't cry out. All I could do was stare at the house and pray that the guy would see that this dog was about to completely demolish me. And he did finally come out and called the dog away. And this was when I was 10.
Wow.
Well, we just moved into this place in Missoula, and I was standing in my husband's car talking to him, and I felt this nudge kind of behind me, and I turn around, and it's this red-nosed pit bull just there. And knowing what I know now, I knew that if you're calm, they will be calm. And I turned around and I said, "Hello, beautiful," and I petted the dog, and its owner wasn't too far behind. And she just took off, sauntered back to her owner, and everything worked out fine.
Wow.
I do think that a big part is the owners. I also think that it is the reaction to the people around the dog at that point. I don't think shooting it would be an answer. I do like the pepper spray answer, because before I heard that, I don't know what I would do.
Yeah.
I
All right.
really don't.
Well, thanks, Misty.
Uh-huh.
Appreciate your call. Let's move on. Go ahead.
I was just going to comment. I mean, yeah, if you're an adult and you have the sense of mind to be calm around a dog that's chasing you, that works great. But like in my situation where I'm a 70-year-old kid, or, I have 3 children of my own,
Right.
that kid's going to run,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Let's grab line 1. Let's get Matt on the line. Matt, thanks for holding. Go ahead, sir.
Hi, I used to deliver milk at night, and let me tell you, everybody's dog is mean at night when you're walking through their backyard.
Sure.
It doesn't matter the breed.
Right.
The worst breeds were Irish setters. I've had more trouble with them than anything else. Having said that, I don't believe that there's such a thing as a bad breed of dog. I think there are bad dog owners. You have a dog that's inherently nasty and vicious, stay away from the owner, because he's an SOB from the beginning. Dogs are a reflection of the better angels of our nature, and if the dogs are mean, the owner's mean. I've had pit bulls. I had an American pit bull when I was married. My daughter has pit bull. It's a rescue animal, and it's a wonderful dog. She's tries to be all tough and protective, but pretty soon she's sitting between you and the couch, laying there snoring. So,
I think you make a great point in that an owner can change the behavior of a dog. But I want to throw something at you, Matt. I looked up the dog bite fatalities for 2014. There were 42 people that died from a dog bite in 2014.
You know how many dogs were bitten in this country, and what the most?
No. This is people. So 27 of the fatal dog bite attacks were from pit bulls. The second most was 4 from Rottweilers.
For a dog bite, and what was the most vicious dog bite? The most frequent dog bite there? Labrador retrievers. Why? Because they're more Labradors. And you have cases where people are killed by pit bulls, or they have kids wandering, little kids, 5 and 6 years old, wandering around the neighborhood by themselves, and you have the bad people who have the big pit bulls, the drug dealers or whatever, that want people to stay away, and the dogs are unsupervised, and the kids have access to the dog, and the kid gets access. Whose fault is that? Is that the dog breed, or is that the rotten people who have the pit bulls to keep them away from their drug dealing house?
Right.
I don't disagree. I think it's the rotten people that play the major role here.
Matt, we got
also the parents who let their kids wander around unsupervised.
Okay, Matt.
Now, in this case, I don't know if the dog attack occurred on the property or off the property.
It was on the property of the
homeowner.
homeowner. I do know where it occurred, and actually, I believe they're neighbors. So
Well,
the dog
did
was
it
the
occur
pit
out
bull.
in the street or on his property.
The dog was
Because
shot on his property.
Okay, if it occurs on his property, then he has some justification. And you know what? I really feel bad for a 14-year-old kid who saw his dog get shot, but he's equally culpable there because he didn't have control of the dog.
All right. Hey, Matt, we got to run. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it. Dick and Roy, you guys are up next. We have a line open. See how many seconds it takes for that to light up.
And by the way, I actually spoke with the pit bull owner, or I typed through Facebook, so maybe I was being misled, but she seemed earnest. And she confirmed with the police report that the dog got off the leash somehow and confirmed that it was shot on private property. I'll read her post earlier. She also told me the name of the pit bull, Little Angel, named Lucifer.
Hey, we're back on Talkback. 721-1290 is the number. John King over there. I'm Peter Christian, and what do you got?
Yeah, I was just going to read. So this is from Emma, apparently the owner of the dog that was shot.
All right.
And she sent a Facebook comment to us yesterday saying, "This pit bull was my dog, Lucifer. He wasn't raised badly, and we just didn't get him used to other dogs at a young age. If the boxer was on a leash, none of this would have happened." And I followed up. I said, the police officer I spoke with indicated that the pit bull got away from his leash somehow and that he was shot on private property. Is that true, Emma? And then she responded by saying, yes, the leash did in fact snap, which led him to attack Bruce on our neighbor's property. But Bruce, and I think that's the name of the boxer in this case.
Right.
But Bruce ran after him as Lou was being walked down the street, Lou being Lucifer. So there's a little bit more of the scenario. Maybe you get an insight into the
Sure.
owner of the dog as well.
Right. Let's get back to the phones. Roy, thanks for your patience. Sir, go ahead.
Yeah, good morning. My brother made a statement to me a couple of years ago that in Spanky and the gang, I don't know if you remember that, it's a long time ago, but they had a dog with them that followed them everywhere, and I think his name was Spot. And he happened to be a pit bull. And he got along good with the kids and everything, and it was a real comedy and enjoyable show to watch when I was a kid. Also, my brother had a pit bull for years, and I'd go visit him, and he was one of the gentlest, nicest dogs you could have around. You could lay right with him and right next to his head and sleep with him or play with him, and he was a cool dog. I think more of this has to do with training a dog. You can train a dog to be very aggressive, or you can train a dog to be much less aggressive. But we're talking here not about a dog attacking people. We're talking about dogs fighting with each other. But it's natural that dogs protect their territory, and they will sometimes fight with each other to protect their territory. I have broken up dog fights between my dog and another dog by just saying to my dog, "No, Toby, no," and she'll back off. And another way that this gentleman could have probably used that may have worked better is to come out with bear spray. I believe bear spray would break up a dog fight pretty easily. I know when I was working in a logging camp in southeast Alaska, there were two ladies that were taking a walk together down a logging road. We were at work at the time, and they were get some exercise walking down a logging road, and they happened to walk over a bridge that was over a salmon stream when the salmon were running, and a probably 2-year-old, one or 2-year-old grizzly bear came out from underneath the bridge and started chasing them. And that I've been told that's not a good age for grizzly bears, especially 2 years old. They can get pretty aggressive. One of the ladies had bear spray and sprayed the bear, and that immediately he lost his desire to chase the ladies and was somewhat befuddled, and took off.
It was probably the same thing would happen to a dog then.
Yeah, so I think probably a better way to handle a situation would have been to use bear spray. But when dogs are fighting amongst themselves, it's a territory thing, and a lot of times you just watch them, and the fight may be over shortly, and
or the other dog may be dead.
Yeah, you can usually break it up. One of the best ways I think would be bear spray. I'm sorry to hear the 14-year-old boy lost his dog. That's not good. He's probably feeling bad, but.
Hey, Roy, we got to run and get another call, but thank you so much for your call. We appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks for the suggestion. Bear spray is a good deal. All right, okay, Norm, good morning. You're on Talkback. Hi.
Good morning. I'm a breeder. I've been breeding golden retrievers for 25 years.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, I'm going to share some information with you that will probably shock a lot of people, but golden retrievers are now becoming the country's number 3 biting dog.
Really?
And the reason is it's because of the breeders. All the responsibility lies on the breeders.
Right.
You need to know the breed of the dog. When I breed my Goldens, I spend 8 hours a day with them for 6 weeks before I let them go, so that they are truly what a Golden Retriever is supposed to be, fully acclimated to human beings. The same thing applies to all the other dogs out there. Unless the dog is going to be used for a security or watchdog, you're supposed to adequately accommodate the dog to know who the human beings. If they don't know people, they're not around them enough, then they're going to react very weirdly, because if a dog starts to get rough, then the other dog gets rough. Well, it's the same thing with people. If you got a rough attitude, then the dog's going to have an attitude towards you. And by doing this is how they get rid of it. These Golden Retrievers that are now becoming the number 3 biting dog are $400 Goldens that people raise like it was a guard dog. They put it in the garage or it's in the backyard, and these little puppies don't get hardly any time spent with human beings. And then when you get them around the children and whatever, they're very prone to bite and attack, because they're not familiar how human beings react and respond to everything. And that's the problem, is it's all the responsibility lies on the breeders. And then once you move up and you get it as an owner, then you have a responsibility to see that this dog is disciplined and that it will obey your commands. And that's where all the other problems go. Another thing is, I'm very familiar with pit bulls. I have a friend who breeds them, and full-blooded pit bulls are just like this gentleman before you was talking about. They're very friendly and they're very protective. But when you get into pit bulls being bred and mixed with other breeds, that's where the problem comes in.
All right. Well, Norm, thanks so much for that information. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Have a great day. Thanks. So we're up against a break. Go ahead.
Yeah, we have tons of comments and stuff. I wanted to throw this stats out. This is from dogsbite.org, okay?
All right.
They took 10 years from 2005 to 2014 and looked at what dogs led to deaths, and this is human deaths from a dog bite. So from a pit bull, there were 203 deaths in that time period, 62.3% of the total. Next down is Rottweilers, 38 deaths, 11.7% of the total. Next is Mastiffs or Bull Mastiffs, 13 deaths, 4.0% of the total, 4%. Then German Shepherds at 12 deaths, 3.7%. Then Huskies, then mixed breeds, then American Bulldogs, then unknown, and then combination. So there's the list.
All right.
But how many of those pit bulls were actually mixes of, as Norm pointed out? I don't know.
Who knows? We're way past a break. We're going to be right back. Catherine, we'll take your call in a moment. We have 2 lines open. And if I have time, I'll tell you my story about my family's history with dogs, and it's really pretty interesting. We're going to come right back with more in a moment. This is Talkback, 721-1290, 1-800-568-5309. You got a bunch of comments there.
Yeah, Doc says, which is more threatening, a 100-pound person with a 100-pound pit bull straining at its leash, or a law-abiding citizen with a concealed weapons permit, both walking in the park? I contend that pit bulls pose a threat no matter what the circumstances, and propose owners need special counseling and training before they're allowed to own one. So that's Doc's point of view.
Okay.
Jim says, here's some pit bull pictures to fuel your paranoia, John. And there are 30 images that prove that pit bulls are extremely vicious creatures. But if you go into it, it's like pit bull playing with deer, pit bull afraid of cat, pit bull playing with baby.
Right.
So
I know.
Thanks, Jim, for desensitizing me. Mitchell says, like John, I also had problems with dogs when I was a kid. A neighbor's mini pincher pinched me and drew blood, and I had a black German Shepherd named Heidi who nipped my rump roast when I was collecting for my paper route. Yes, I think pit bulls lean towards aggression and can be normalized by being an attentive owner. I also have a good friend that lost part of his trigger finger by trying to stop a dog fight.
Yeah. You got to be careful with that.
So let's go to callers.
Right. Let's do that. And Catherine, thank you for holding. You're on Talkback. Go ahead.
Oh, good morning. Well, boy, I have a few things to say, but some of it was said by the breeder Norm. Is that was his name?
Yes.
Called in. I prefer the term American Staffordshire Terrier, which is actually what pit bulls are. There's also the English Staffordshire Terrier. They are terriers, and they used to be known as the nanny dogs.
Well, there is. I'm looking at a picture of the dog from the Our Gang series, And it was an actual American Pit Bull Terrier named Pete.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank
Yes.
you. I'm here all week. Go ahead.
I know. Yeah, they're known as pit bulls, but I prefer the term Staffordshire because pit bulls has a bad connotation these days.
Okay.
And they were known as the nanny dogs. They were bred to guard the nursery and to guard young children until some very no-account people decided to breed them as fighters. And so you have bad breeding. You know, they were bred for the vicious temperament.
Well, actually, I've done a lot of history in this breed, and one of the reasons they have such powerful jaws is they were bred to grab onto the snouts of bulls. Okay,
that was the English bulldog.
Yeah, to keep them in line, and the whole idea with the bite strength is once they got clamped down on that nose, it didn't matter how the bull shook them, they would hold on to that bull until it got under control. And
that
so
was the English bulldog.
Well, there are others as well. So
yeah. But when you look at the contrast the breeding of English bulldogs these days with the breeding of them years and years ago, their function changed. They're bred as companions, and they're very gentle creatures.
Right.
So breeding tells, so they're good breeders who are trying to breed good Staffordshire Terriers.
And we actually had an English bulldog. Are you ready for this vicious name?
Yeah.
Fuddles. My mother, this is no joke, when we lived when I was born in Hawaii at the base there, my mother would put me in a carriage and strap the carriage to Fuddles, and Fuddles would walk me all around the neighborhood, okay? and the dog was so mean looking that nobody would even dare approach.
No one would fiddle with Fuddles.
But I mean, the dog was just a slobbering, love machine. And but anyway, so could continue with your story. I apologize.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was just going to say, I actually had a husky like that. My dad built a sled for me, and would hook him up. And in the wintertime, I'd be sledding the back roads of Great Falls with my husky pulling me.
There you go.
Leash laws, if they were followed in town on paths, and if people kept their dogs under better control, and if the laws were actually enforced on that, we might have lesser incidences of this.
Gotcha.
So, anyways,
thanks.
And a corollary, you should mention what's going on in Butte with the dog situation.
We did.
Did you?
What is that?
Oh, there people are fighting about whether dogs should even be allowed on paths because in Butte, the dogs, whether leashed or unleashed, are not allowed to walk on any path.
Well, this is Butte. You don't want something stinky right in the middle of your city. They have high standards in Butte.
Hey, listen, thanks, Cather. We got to take a break. Emmett and Marilyn, you guys are up next. We have a line open, 721-1290. What do you think of Butte as a whole? But anyway, okay, I couldn't resist. We'll be right back. When I was just a boy. Okay.
Where did you get that bass jug from?
All right, let's move right along here. Let's get Emmett on the line. Emmett, thanks for holding. Go ahead.
Oh, thanks. It's a very fascinating discussion. Well, I do have a lot of dog stories myself. Don't have time to tell all of them, but
how about just one?
It's a tragedy what happened, horrible one, and maybe pepper spray might have been better. But what if the owner didn't have pepper spray and needed to shoot this very aggressive dog who got off the leash?
I think you make a good point. More Montanans probably have guns than have pepper spray. And this is actually the point that Jim made on Facebook just a few seconds ago. Is this a new Montana stereotype that I haven't heard before? All Montana kids ride horses to school. Every Montana has a can of bear spray on them at all times. I mean,
yeah. Well, anyway, I've been attacked by dogs almost numerous times. Many dogs have been friendly to me and loved me, but like when I was in Lewiston, Idaho as a kid, I was 15. A dog. And the owner was trying to control the dog, and I was just trying to be friendly. I was walking, minding my own business to school. It jumped out of the fence and tried to run after me and bit my homework, almost killed me.
It bit your homework? Are
yeah,
you kidding
and it was
me?
trying to bite me. It was trying to bite me. It was trying to run me down and bite me, is what it was trying to do.
Well, you would have had the perfect excuse. The dog ate my homework.
Homework was there to defend you. I'm sorry,
Thank you,
Algebra 2 homework was... eaten by a
loved
dog.
it. And then when I was in Florence, sitting, for doing actual dog sitting, I was just walking to church, and this other dog came right from behind, tried to chase me down and bite me, and I had to stand my ground because dogs, if you run or you show fear or you cry, they'll just kill you. The only stance is a stance that you face the dog and you're not afraid. Then they'll back down, and the dog was even trying to get into the tall grass as an ambush, and I was minding my own business, so... some dogs, whoever the owners or whatever, are so vicious. You've got to defend yourself, whether it's pepper spray or a gun or whatever.
Okay,
So,
Emmett, thanks for the call. We got to move along.
Thank you.
Appreciate the call.
I used to scoop poop out of people's yards from
I
dogs.
remember, yes,
Many
yes.
of them were very aggressive. Yeah. Secret trick of the trade, a squirt gun. No pepper spray needed.
Yeah.
Just a little squirt gun.
All right.
Some of the meanest dogs whimper away when they get squirt by water.
Marilyn, you're on Talkback. Go ahead.
Okay, I've got numerous stories of dogs chasing me while I'm out for a peaceful walk, but I won't go into those. But I will say, my baby was 3 months old, and I had taken her to Grandma's house so I could run an errand, and she was asleep on the couch. And when I came home, my mom was beside herself because her black lab had bit my 3-month-old baby in the face while she was sleeping.
Oh, my goodness.
So what was that? Was that jealousy? The black lab wasn't, used to this little baby in its domain, or what? I mean,
That's a really good question.
yeah,
I wish I knew.
A black
I
lab, you'd never suspect that from a black lab, but that has
Yeah.
stuck with me forever.
Well, Marilyn, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Have a great day. David, you're on Talkback. Go ahead. Hello, David?
Yes.
Yes, David, you're on. Go ahead, please.
Okay. Well, I had an experience similar to this guy's in Missoula about 26, 27 years ago. But first of all, the dog is bred. That's something we forget. They were bred by men to do certain things, and they're sort of neutral. They're sort of doing what they're bred to do.
They were
And
following
that
its
being
nature.
given,
right?
It's hard to separate all of the politics out of this.
Well, now,
But
it's interesting you'd bring that up, David, because one of the things we talk about why people do things is the argument nature versus nurture, right?
Right. Well, I think there's no doubt. You have a pointing dog. You don't teach them to point, but as soon as if they've got the instinct, they run across the smell, they will freeze. And you refine that. But I've had bird dogs. You don't train them how to point. They do that naturally. Okay, so my point is that the pit bull, although there's more German Shepherds and more dog bites by German Shepherds, there's a whole lot more of them. The pit bull is inherently more dangerous. And also, do you see any gangster rap covers with a Chihuahua on?
True enough. True enough.
Okay.
Thanks, David.
So,
go ahead.
well, I got involved with the police on a deal like that. My children were walking across a free area in East Missoula, and a guy had a pit bull on a swing set chain, and it would run to the end of the tether and just dig, trying to get off that chain. My oldest one was 6 or 7 at that time. And I called the city, and the first thing they said was, "Hey, has he bitten anybody yet?" Well, it's too late. One of those things take the kid's head off. And so eventually the dog got off, and I was standing there with a shotgun, with it broken open, called the police. They said they couldn't do anything. And I said, "Well, if you can't do anything, I will." So they came then. But the dog never would come into my yard, so I didn't shoot it. But the police came. While they were there, a man was walking his dog down the street, a little fluffy, and this guy's about 6'6". The pit bull ran at that dog. He jerked it up in the air, and it snapped its jaws right under it, trying to eat that dog.
Wow.
But anyway, out of that, they've made some peripheral changes, but basically, you can't get the city to do anything to help you till it's too late.
Well,
So
David,
that's all I got to say.
thanks for the call. We appreciate it. It's good to talk with you. We're going to come right back, and Mike and Chris are both on the line. What are you smiling?
That was my daddy. That was my daddy.
See, he was protecting you. So
He
we're going
was
to come
trying
right
to save me. I don't know why.
We'll be right back after this 1-minute timeout. All right, 721-1290, 1-800-568-5309. If I may just impart a little bit of wisdom from my grandmother and my mom. My grandmother was one of the founders of the Humane Society in the state of Montana way, way back in the 1930s, okay? Helped to build the first pet cemetery in the state, just outside Helena. Anyway, she was kind of a dog whisperer, and my mom was like unto her. And so we grew up with dogs, loved dogs. Dogs are great. But the one thing that they would tell me is that you never approach any dog just willy-nilly. I mean, if there's a dog in a vehicle or a dog in a truck or a dog by the side of the road or whatever, you never approach it until you see the owner, and then you walk up to the owner and you ask permission to talk to or pet the dog. That way the dog sees that this person that they're there to protect is good with it, and you won't get bit. And one thing above anything else, never approach a dog in a vehicle, in the back of a truck or in a car, whatever, because that's their territory. And if you're a stranger coming at their territory, they are going to react. So anyway,
some wisdom from Kay.
Couple of quick things.
One of our callers. I had mentioned using a squirt gun to tame a dog down. Kay says she breaks up dog fights with a garden hose. Now, I don't know if she squirts them with the garden hose or hits them with the garden hose. Kay wasn't able to fill me in on that.
We got a couple minutes left. Mike, you're on Talkback. Go ahead.
Hello, Pete.
Hey, Mike, what's up, buddy? Now, this guy knows he's a postal carrier. So, Mike, give us your wisdom, buddy.
Okay, well, I would endorse a couple of the previous callers. One is you don't want to show fear. Taught my kids that if, even until they're actually not afraid, you bluff your courage and the dog will likely back down. Because I've had a situation where there were 5 dogs coming at me when I was delivering mail, and I didn't even have a bag. I was just carrying the mail. And the one in the lead was a pit bull. And so my only alternative was I took a step toward him and ready to kick him in the head, and they all scattered. Because dogs can tell, they want you to turn around and run. So even if you're afraid, you might want to just adopt the posture of courage.
All right.
And another one of the callers mentioned that you want to watch the owner. And that's usually the situation. As you know, Pete, I had a Rottweiler, and he was a big powder puff. But it was the way they're raised. And to this day, 2 of my best memories have been with pit bulls on my different routes. And one currently, he's a pretty good sized guy, and he would come over the fence sometimes, climb over just to run along and bark at the other dog in the other fence. But I'd take that dog home in a heartbeat.
All right.
And so there, it depends on how they're raised. So anyway, that's
thanks, Mike.
So,
hey, appreciate it, buddy. Hey, listen, thanks for the call.
Yep,
Have a good one. All right, Chris, you're on Talkback. Go ahead.
Hey, a few years ago, I had an incident with a Missoula city cop pulling a gun on my 6-month-old yellow lab. I had instances with this cop with my music being too loud. The third instance happened the day before the dog. I was listening to my music loud. He showed up at my house to deliver me a sound ordinance ticket. The next morning, starts barking, wakes up my son. He's a baby, freaking out. So I think he's out of the gate, and I let my puppy outside. Hear this cop, Ken Guy is his name, freaking out. I open up the door, and he's got his gun pulled up, pointed at my dog from like 6 feet away, telling me, like, get your dog, get your dog. I grab a hold of the dog, and he still kept his gun on him for like 5 or 10 seconds probably. So if anybody gets in trouble for shooting a dog instead of pepper spraying him, I would think that the police officer that has that on him should set the precedence.
All right. Well, that's a good point. Thanks for the call.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. All right. So there you go. So all sorts of different experiences here. So
yeah, everybody has a different tale to tell.
Yeah, everybody's got a dog story of some sort. And we have 3 minutes left in the show. So if there's one you'd like to share, give us a call. We still have plenty of time to share it. So
yeah, I had a similar experience to the mailman, actually. I was down in Oklahoma, and I was walking this older lady around, just talking with her, And we went down this road, and a pack of dogs that, I don't know, they seemed feral. I don't know if anyone was watching them or what. There was probably 5 or 6 dogs in a pack, and they were all working together, and they just surrounded us and started barking, and really aggressive. I was I was scared, and I was, I picked up a big old stick, and I was ready to go to war if
Sure.
it happened.
Right.
Because this lady, I mean, she was probably 85. I mean, she was an older lady.
Right.
I mean, she would have easily been taken by one of these dogs. So, but yeah, I concur. I mean, you got to show that you're not afraid of the dog, even if you're inside really, really, really scared.
Well, yeah, we have in lieu of callers, I'll just share one more story about my grandmother. Bless her, Vi. Her name was Vi Calmet. Okay. And when she was in her 80s, the folks at the Pound in Helena knew her, and she was kind of a dog whisperer type. I mean, she could visit with any dog, and she obviously spoke their language. When they had a dog that was uncontrollable or vicious or whatever, they would call my grandmother, and she would come out and she would, talk to the dog through the fence, right? Just talk to him very gently, get to know him, and then she would go inside, sit down on a chair. And within 2 or 3 minutes, that dog would literally be either head on her lap or sitting in her lap and totally gentle. And then she would take the dog home. And within 2 or 3 months, it would be a big fat lap dog. And and then she would bring it back to the Humane Society and they adopt it out. She just had that way with dogs. And I've never known anybody else who was able to do that. She was just amazing.
So did she have any certain dogs that she liked more than others?
She had she had 3 Norwegian elk hounds, perhaps the hairiest dogs on the planet. Okay, they look like little miniature huskies with little curly tails.
Okay,
and you would walk into her trailer house and you would be instantly ankle deep in dog hair.
Ugh.
It was everywhere, but she loved and doted on those dogs and. Anyway,
missing grandma a little bit.
Just a lot of really good memories there with my grandmother, and she passed away about 4 or 5 days before her 100th birthday.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I actually held her hand. She passed away.
So did you ever have an inkling to go get an elk hound?
No. Thanks. But believe me, I don't know how many vacuum cleaners I've destroyed trying to help clean up my grandmother's house. But anyway, okay, we have less than a minute left. What's coming up on tomorrow's fabulous radio program?
Tomorrow we'll be speaking with a University of Montana professor from the School of Law. I guess it's the Blewett School of Law.
Not the official name change won't be done till this fall. The Alexander Blewett III.
So if you don't want to blow it, hurry up and graduate now.
Oh, you were the Blewett School of Law. Huh? Well, anyway, but a $10 million gift is what happened there.
All I can think about is Tobias Funke, but you probably don't get that joke from Arrested Development.
Sorry.
Nope. All right. Different comedy wheelhouse.
Hey, you guys have a great day. Thanks so much for joining us, and thank you for all the dog stories and all the good advice, and hopefully people were listening. You guys have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow morning at 8:30 on Talkback.